What if the greatest king in history wasn't found in a palace, but in the arms of a poor young mother? Three of the wisest men on earth set out to find a king. They saw a strange star in the sky. They followed the star across the desert, but they never imagined it would lead them straight to the light of the world. These men had gold, power, and knowledge, yet they knelt on the floor of a simple home before a little child. This is the story of the three wise men. Matthew chapter 2, verse 1 to 12.
Under a velvet eastern sky, the night was alive with whispering stars. For weeks now, three scholars had watched them, men of learning, readers of scrolls, and seekers of truth. Their names were Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar. They were known in their lands as wise men, Magi who studied both the movement of the heavens and the mysteries of ancient prophecies. Tonight, everything changed. Melchior, an older man with a snow-white beard and thoughtful eyes, stood on the rooftop of his house, wrapped in a deep blue robe. In his hand, he held a worn scroll, its edges darkened by age.
"Gaspar,"
he called softly, his voice trembling.
"come see this."
Gaspar, younger and quick in his movements, hurried up the stone steps, his dark hair tousled by the night breeze.
"You found something?"
Melchior pointed upward. There, hanging in the sky like a blazing jewel, was a star unlike any they had ever seen. It burned with a steady, gentle light, brighter than all the others, almost as if it were watching the earth. Balthazar joined them, his rich garments rustling as he walked.
"You called for us?"
Melchior unrolled the scroll.
Listen to this prophecy from the ancient writings of the Hebrews. A star shall come out of Jacob. A scepter shall rise out of Israel. This star,
Melchior whispered,
it is not ordinary. It is a sign. A king has been born, a great king, not just of one nation, but for all.
Balthazar's brows knitted in wonder.
"A king of the Jews? So far from here? And the heavens announce his birth?"
Gaspar's eyes shone.
"If the heavens themselves proclaim him, who are we to stay home and do nothing?"
They fell silent. The star's light seemed to press into their hearts. Balthazar was the first to speak.
"If this child is truly the promised king, then we must go to him. We must honor him."
Melchior nodded firmly.
We will follow the star.
Preparation began at once. Servants loaded camels with food, water, and tents. Fine cloths, rolled carpets, and protective cloaks were carefully placed in travel bags. But most important of all were three small chests, each wrapped with care and guarded closely. Gold, frankincense, myrrh. Melchior chose gold, the gift of kings. Balthazar carried frankincense, fragrant incense used in worship. Gaspar brought myrrh, costly perfume used in anointing and burial. So they set out. Days turned into weeks as the little caravan moved across deserts and hills. The star went before them, sometimes hidden by clouds, then shining again like a faithful guide. At night, they camped under the open sky, and the wise men spoke of the child.
"Will he be like other kings?"
Gaspar pondered one evening as they sat beside a low fire. Balthazar shook his head.
"No. Other kings are announced with armies and trumpets. But this king is announced by a star. Heaven itself recognizes him. I believe he is more than just a ruler. He is a gift from God."
Melchior's eyes reflected the flames.
The prophets of Israel spoke of one who would bring light to the nations. Perhaps he is that light.
The fire crackled. The camels shifted and sighed. Over them, the star watched and waited. Eventually, the journey led them to Judea and then to the great city of Jerusalem. As they entered its gates, the wise men expected celebration, music, banners, signs that a king had been born. But the city was ordinary. Their arrival did not go unnoticed. Foreigners in fine robes with a caravan and chests asking curious questions. Word traveled quickly.
Where is he who has been born King of the Jews?
They asked in the streets.
For we have seen his star in the east and have come to worship him.
The question stirred confusion, then murmuring irritation, then fear. Finally, it reached the ears of King Herod. Herod, an aging king with suspicious eyes, heard the report. Learned men from the east, speaking of a newborn, King of the Jews. The words hit him like a blow.
Another king?
He thought, anger rising.
A rival?
He sent for the wise men. In a quiet hall lit by oil lamps, Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar stood before him.
You have traveled far.
Herod said with a forced smile.
You speak of a child, a king. Tell me, when did this star appear?
They answered honestly, describing the time the star had first risen, and Herod calculated carefully in his mind.
A king, a child.
He mused internally.
If I can find him, I can deal with him.
Outwardly, his voice softened, pretending sincerity.
Go and search carefully for the young child,
he said.
And when you have found him, bring back word to me, so that I too may come and worship him.
Melchior, Balthazar, and Gaspar bowed, unaware of the darkness in his heart. Leaving Jerusalem, the wise men rejoiced as the star appeared again, leading them to Bethlehem. It stopped, not above a palace, but above a simple house. Inside they found Mary with the young child Jesus, and Joseph beside them. There was no throne, no crown, no guards, only a humble family. Yet in that small room, they felt a holy presence. Without hesitation, they bowed to the ground and worshipped him. Then they opened their treasures, gold laid before the true king, frankincense rising like worship to God, and myrrh, a mysterious sign of the cost he would one day pay. That night, God warned them in a dream not to return to Herod. Obeying the warning, they quietly left Bethlehem and returned to their own lands by another road. They had followed a star, but they went home with something far greater, a living encounter with the light of the world. They had set out as scholars searching the heavens and returned as worshippers whose hearts were forever changed. The story of the three wise men reminds us, God calls sincere seekers. These men searched for truth, and God guided them all the way to Jesus. God's signs lead to his Son. The star did not exist for its own glory. It pointed to Christ. True wisdom bows to Jesus. The wisest men of their day humbly knelt before a child. We all have gifts to bring. Their gold, frankincense, and myrrh were precious, but the greatest gift was their worship and obedience. Just like the wise men, when we truly encounter Jesus, we can't go back the same way. We leave changed, walking a new path. Wise men still seek Jesus today. Are you one of them?
Thank you for watching. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for another interesting one.